that she might end up marrying Hephaestus. And Astraeus then warned her that soon enough Persephone would be ravished by a serpent and bear fruit from that union, which greatly upset Demeter. Okay, now right here we have the reference to Persephone um, being ravished by a serpent, and she was going to have a baby. Okay, now this goes back to what I was talking about with Helen of Troy. She was born of an egg. Okay, so you kind of get that because a reptile. You know what I'm saying? What is a reptile born out of? You know what I mean?
And they go outside of well, generally speaking, outside of the body,
Mm-hmm.
whereas humans are, yeah, um, gestation is done within the body.
Mm-hmm. And this makes the second reference like that. This is something that stuck out to me. And it says Persephone would be ravished by a serpent and bear fruit from that union. So I found that pretty interesting, and it's like I said, you'll find these little gold nuggets all through these mythologies, and it's always been there. It's just nobody's ever really paid attention enough to really catch on to it. You know what I mean? But with that being said, I also wanted to bring up the wind gods in ancient Greek mythology, and that starts with Eos, which is what I wanted to get to. Now, this is the ancient Greek mythology and religion. Eos, which is basically, it means dawn. Um, if anybody's ever or curious about it. Now, Eos is the goddess of and personification of the dawn, who rose each morning from her home at the edge of the river Oceanus to deliver light and disperse the night. Now, in Greek tradition and poetry, she is characterized as a goddess with a great sexual appetite who took numerous human lovers for her own satisfaction and bore them several children. Like her Roman counterpart, Aurora, and Rigvedic Ushas, Eos continues the name of an earlier Indo-European dawn goddess, which is Hasos. Eos, in her earlier Proto-Indo-European, which is PIE if it, in initials, if you ever see people with the initials PIE in it, that's what they're saying, the Proto-Indo-European. But in her earlier Proto-Indo-European ancestor, Osho shares several elements with the love goddess Aphrodite, perhaps signifying Eos's influence on her, or otherwise a common origin of the two goddesses. Now, in surviving traditions, Aphrodite is the culprit behind Eos's numerous love affairs, having cursed the goddess with the insatiable lust for mortal men. So we had like a nymphomaniac goddess running around ravaging us poor human mortal men. Isn't that
I
horrible?
like how Wikipedia puts us. I forgot she like Eos. He's a predator and not prey, as no tales of men assaulting her exist. But there are many tales where movements.
No, hold on a minute, you're breaking up. What was you saying there? Repeat that.
Um, okay.
There were
Um, Yeah, I'm sorry. She's a predator and not prey. So both um, concepts, the EOS and can never say name. Um, so yeah, there are no tales of men assaulting her, but there are tales of where she's abducted mortal men.
Yeah. Now
Mm.
you also need to think too the Greek. It might not be Wikipedia. This could be those dastardly Greek men who wrote the stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they were very, they weren't very like today. Everybody's all being real sensitive when it comes to women, but they weren't like that back in the days with the ancient Greeks. You know what I mean? It was like that's one of the things I try to remind people whenever we're doing this is because you got to put yourself in the time period. You know what I mean? Kind of get out of this world we're in today and how we think. Because you're going to have to put your mindset into that time period and realize what kind of people you're dealing with when you hear these stories. You know what I'm saying? And it's really hard for people to do that. Is basically the whole thing. You know what I mean? And you got to realize that it's a story that's written by men. You know what I mean? Like like Greek men from ancient days who had very little respect for women. Period. I went over this with Karma last year about like the Assyrians and their treatment of women was horrible. And the whole list could go on some of the stuff that I've actually read in here, but just keep that in mind is all I'm saying.
Well, we're not saying that all cultures, ancient cultures, treated women badly.
I just can't find too many that treated them good.
Right.
To be honest with you, I just haven't, and I'm not trying to be like liberal or anything like that, dude. I'm just being honest. You know what I mean? It's like they're just horrible, and it's not just women. Don't let me say that by itself. I mean, like they treat each other horrible. Period. You know, and like if you want to say something like that concerning women, like I've actually done research on people on how they treated their children, and like their children, they just, I mean, I don't get where people today say freaking we came from like this golden age. You know what I mean? Because we didn't. Human.
Again, not all cultures are the same.
Name one. Name one.
Right?
Name one culture that was really good to their children and their women.
I would have to do the research.
It would take you a long time because I'm still trying.
Okay, I have to do some serious research on that one, but
I've yet to find any culture.
you are the historian. You are the.
I'm just telling you, I've done the research, man. I have not yet found anyone, and it's sad because I'd like to know of at least one of them where women were and children were treated good, but that didn't happen.
If you believe Plato, Amazon.
No, you can't believe a word Plato ever said.
Yeah, I was going to say if you believe Plato, yeah, the Amazonian culture.
Especially like this is kind of where a lot of this is going to go down. Just so you know, like we're going to be discussing this.
Yeah, I guess that's much.
Now, when I was mentioning the Scythians and the Sarmatians earlier, the Scythians are what you would refer to as the Amazonians. And the Scythians weren't just women; they were both men and women. All right, but the Greeks had an issue with them. Well, I guess you could say. Okay, I take it back. They might have actually treated their women right.
Actually, I've heard I've heard this argument before, but it's always been suggested that Plato just created, invented
Yeah.
Amazon.
Well, see, the Greeks despised the Scythians because they allowed their women to participate in battle. And the Scythian women, dude, they were so much into it that they would cut off their freaking boobs so that they could hold their bow right and fight. You know what I mean? I mean, it was. They were vicious. They were like every man's dream. You know what I mean? Hopefully they were good looking. You know what I mean? Because like some of the stuff I've read on there, these were some bulldogs, man. You know, I mean they were tough. The Scythians actually split off from the Sarmatians because the Amazon women apparently couldn't get along with Sarmatian women, so they told their husbands that they needed to leave. So they broke off and they created the Scythian tribes. So you had the Sarmatians on one side, and then you had the Scythians on the other side. Between the
where did he use the term husbands? Because in the Amazon ferry, there was no such thing as husbands, so
that's what they
I don't
were.
know.
That's
Slaves
no,
or
see,
yeah.
that was the original. That's the real story. It's not the Greek story. See,
Yeah.
no, the whole thing that the Greeks said, they were talking about how horrible the Amazons were, and that they were like this horrible breed of women warriors who hated men and all that, and that was farthest from the truth, you know. And when they were making references like that, they were taking pot shots at the Scythians.
Mm.
So that's where a lot of that came from.
That makes sense, yeah.
Now, a lot of people who are really into history right now is probably coming up with real intellectual words to call me that would relate to other words like you stupid bastard and shit like that. You know, like you could have said
that's what made no so intellectual.
You know, full of conjecture. That's what they're thinking. You know, but that's my take on it, and don't take that down as like historical fact. That's just Roger's rambling bullshit. You know what I mean? I really do get into this stuff. You know what I mean? So, I think what we need to do here, I thought that we would be able to get a little bit farther, but I want to hold off on this.